across our right-of-way, in addition to going forward with our recommendation to do an at-grade crossing of Sepulveda, we are also clearing as an option the grade separation of Sepulveda. So we'd go over Sepulveda if someone other than the Expo Authority comes up with the funding to do that. At Barrington, we did some additional studies there and additional counts there and extended some of the turning lanes, and we're still going with that grade. And then at Centinela, we did upgraded traffic counts and additional analysis, and agreed with DOT that because of the sort of funny way that Sepulveda is, for those of you that know it, Sepulveda comes up to Olympic, and Centinela, I'm sorry, thank you, Mike. Centinela comes up to Olympic and then jogs to the west and then continues north and sort of shares Olympic. And when we looked at that sort of funny dogleg at DOT's suggestion, we realized that we needed to do a grade separation there. So a couple of changes from the draft. When we took our draft to our board of directors, they looked at the work that was done. They considered some of the testimony that was made at their meeting, and they told us that their preferred alternative was the second alternative, which is using the Expo right-of-way and Colorado to get to Santa Monica. You can see in this case the station passengers that we're forecasting, starting at the west of Colorado and 4th and heading to the east to National Palms. The two that are closest to here, I suppose, well, two of the closest to here, Expo Sepulveda and Expo Westwood, are the highest ridership stations. In the next column, you can see the parking that we're proposing to provide. One change from our draft is that in Santa Monica, the city is going to make city parking available, and so we were proposing to put, I think, a couple hundred spaces at 4th and Colorado. That's now going to be provided by existing city parking. The other area that folks were concerned about was on-street parking. And what we did to update that was we went and recounted all of the existing parking in the areas where we were proposing to take some parking away from on-street. We counted it in May, so it was not in the summer, not in the dead of winter, and that's a good time to count. And we counted it in the middle part of the day and at night, so we caught residential overnight parking and daytime parking. We looked at what the utilization was, and where we were taking parking, we looked at whether there was enough empty parking in the area so that we weren't going to take all the parking spaces away. In some cases, and you'll see all of this in the final, particularly on Venice, Sepulveda, and on Colorado, we're proposing to buy some property to provide replacement parking. In most other areas, there is sufficient parking to underutilized parking to make up for the spaces that we're taking. The other thing that folks were concerned about was spillover parking at stations. Since we're not providing a lot of parking at stations and we're relying on bicycle, bus service, and walking, things like that, would transit patrons be parking in the neighborhoods? We're committing to monitor parking around the stations both before and after the project opens, if indeed the project goes forward. And if we see that there is spillover parking happening in those areas that don't presently have residential permit parking, we'll help put in a residential permit parking, working with the cities. There's other things that you can do, of course, have time restrictions, 2-hour parking, so it's not workable for a commuter, or a metered parking, things like that. So those are the kind of solutions that we can do. Noise and vibration, always an area of concern. Just a recap here. We're using the national standard that Federal Transit Administration, that's what FTA stands for, uses for transit projects across the country. And so we're using the standard that's used for all transit projects. The process we go through very quickly is we go out and literally survey all of the areas that we're looking at to see what kind of uses are there. Are they residential, hospital, parks, libraries, or offices, things like that. We also measure the existing noise because we don't want to significantly add to the noise level in a community per those standards. And then also by measuring other existing rail systems like the Pasadena GO line, for example, we can forecast what kind of noise this service would create. And we develop mitigation measures to keep the noise level within those federal standards. All the detail of this is going to be in the environmental impact report. And for those of you that were looking at the wall maps, you saw we had some green lines in a number of places where we're proposing to do noise walls along the edge of our right-of-way to make sure that the noise stays within those standards. We also have low-impact frog is a special kind of track work that you put in so that as the train passes, it does so quietly. And again, I'll remind you, these are electric trains. Another concern, particularly in Santa Monica, was what a maintenance facility where a maintenance facility would be located and what it would look like. We're proposing a maintenance facility because the trains, just like our cars, have to be serviced. They have to be washed, they have to be checked for safety, and of course they have to have things like brakes and headlamps and windshield wipers changed out. And in order to site one of those, we need a size of about 6 to 10 acres. It needs to be right next to the rail line or very close to it. It needs to be flat and ideally located in a commercial or light industrial area. And we looked at a lot of sites as we tried to find a place to put this maintenance facility. In fact, we looked at approximately a little more than 40 from downtown all the way to Santa Monica. And we went through a screening process based upon that criteria that I reviewed in the prior slide, 6 to 10 acres, flat, next to the rail line, and really came down to, at the end of the day, only a couple of sites that could meet those criteria, and they both happen to be in Santa Monica. And so we've been meeting with folks in Santa Monica to talk about that. What happens at these facilities is a good bit of their life is spent as a parking lot for these light rail trains, where they're parked overnight, and during some of them during the middle part of the day when we're not running as much service as we do at rush hour. And I mentioned the kinds of things that happen in terms of the storage, inspection, and light repair facility. We basically got 2 sites, both just east of Stewart Street in Santa Monica. One is on a Verizon maintenance facility. It's a maintenance facility today for their truck fleet. The other is actually is partly the Verizon site and partly a parking lot that Santa Monica Community College has. So we're working with Santa Monica to figure out how that can best be done. One of the things that we're going to work very hard on this project, both at the stations and the maintenance facility, is great architecture. And these are 2 maintenance facilities that we sort of use as examples of good architecture. One is for the CATS light rail system in Charlotte, and the other is for the RTD, the Rapid Transit District in Denver. And they're both very, very attractive buildings, and with good design, you can make these facilities fit well into a community. Another area where we got a lot of comment was on the question of the bikeway. In our work, we are making sure that the bikeway can be accommodated from a design perspective, but the bikeway itself is going through a separate environmental clearance here in Los Angeles by DOT and in Santa Monica by the city of Santa Monica. So they're taking their bike facility through the environmental process. The bikeway would be funded separately as well. And in Santa Monica, it looks like they have enough money from some of their prior grants to fund the construction of the bikeway along with the light rail project if it's all approved. In Los Angeles, there's a gap in the bikeway that goes roughly between the Santa Monica line and Sepulveda Boulevard. And so they're looking to get funding for that under the long-range transportation plan. That the third bullet there, LRTP, is long-range transportation plan. The goal is that the 2 cities will take the bikeway through their environmental process, we'll do our environmental process, and then we'll come together next year when everything is supposed to be approved, and Expo will do a contract with the 2 cities to build the bikeway along with the light rail project, assuming both get approved and go forward. Okay, so what I have left before we go to Q&A, just so you don't get too nervous that I'll go on forever, is just a quick schedule update, and then I've got about 2 minutes of video that we've prepared